good evening. Welcome to one more episode of Talking Times. Today we have a special guest here. You're about to meet him right after our podcast intro. Oh man, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Valdir, before we start, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay, I'll try to be concise. I'm Valdir Nascimento. I'm 42 years old.
Okay.
I was born and raised in the city of São Paulo, in the east side. For those of you who know the east side of São Paulo, yo. In my high school, I also studied to be a computer technician. Okay. So I did alongside the high school. I started working with computers. And then when I started college, I decided to do business administration. And I totally changed career. So I started working in marketing at PepsiCo. So PepsiCo is the owner of many brands, and I was at Elma Chips, and I can tell you more about it later.
Oh, now childhood memories are popping up. You said Elma Chips, I automatically remember this next.
Yeah, and I was working with the kids brand like Cheetos, so that was very interesting.
Nice.
The promotions, the Tazos.
Tazos, I would mention that.
Yeah.
I still have the Bunny's Bunny Red Master Tazo.
Exactly. So that was my first school in terms of marketing.
Okay.
I went on and I had also an MBA in marketing, and that's the area that I'm specialized in.
Nice. And was it like very different, the transition from business to marketing for you?
Not so difficult, because in the end, in marketing, you need to understand several aspects of the business.
Yeah.
So you need to understand a bit of production to make sure that you can do your innovations.
Yeah.
You need to understand financials, because in the end, your product has to be profitable as well.
Yeah.
So a bit of understanding of everything is important for marketeers. So it's not only about advertising.
Yeah, well, I studied, I finished was in 2016, and was a lot of Kotler, a lot of Philip Kotler. Now I have no idea. Has the era changed much since then?
Oh, a lot. So still people use Kotler, but everything's changed. In the past, it was all about, okay, let's do a TV commercial, 60 seconds for Fantástico, and that's it. And now you have so many digital channels. So we see that on average, consumers, they have 57 different channels and more than 3,000 messages a day. So you compete with any kind of content. It's a lot harder to reach consumers. People are much more fragmented.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed is the attention span of the consumers changing, especially because of stories, TikTok videos, for example. So I see some brands, they're trying to there was this rule. I feel old now, but I had this teacher, he said, you need to convey your message in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Like imagine somebody's driving, they see like a billboard, not an outdoor, guys, by the way, billboard. And they need to understand, Now I see people doing this in the digital market,
In fact, in the digital market, some people say 3 seconds.
Damn, 3 seconds.
Many people say 5, of course, because it's a normal format. But normally we talk about 3 seconds, and it also depends on the platform. So this is why it's a lot harder to be a marketeer today, because you need to understand not only Global's rules, but also Google's and Meta's and TikTok's and everything else.
A lot of research. In average, imagine you're starting a new campaign, Valdir. How much, in average, professionals and time are involved in a 3-second video ad or 10-second video ad, by the way?
Oh, I would say sometimes more than 100.
Damn. And we only see the final, results.
Exactly. Just because you have people creating the ad and approving, and you have a production house that's specialized, hiring actors and directors and people that are going to take care of the lighting and the sound and everything. So There's a lot of people involved. Even with a lot of people involved, sometimes they make mistakes.
Exactly, that would be my comment. If I was working in the industry, I would never read the comments because it's so much effort to do like a piece of a campaign, and then somebody, oh, that's bad, that's no, and they're like, oh my god. So it's a lot of work involved. Valdir, what do you exactly do at Nestlé today?
Yeah, so I worked at several different companies, and now I'm working for Nestlé for almost 3 years. I started working with coffee, so with Nescafé and also Starbucks at home. By the way, people ask me, why are you working with Starbucks? Is Starbucks a different thing? Most people don't know that Nestlé has the license to sell Starbucks products in the supermarkets globally. So if you are going into a supermarket and you see a roast and ground Starbucks or a capsule Nespresso Starbucks, that's part of Nestlé. And that's totally independent from the cafeteria.
The brands today, I don't remember, but if it's branding the correct term, but
it could be licensing. Nowadays, people a lot, they call it a lot collabs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because you mentioned PepsiCo, and a lot of products that we see on the shelves, we imagine they are competitors, but sometimes they have the same origin, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
The final consumer, you imagine. Yeah. And that's intelligent in a way, because you will have a broader variety of things there.
Exactly. So at Nestlé, for instance, we have Nescafé and Espresso and Dolce Gusto and Starbucks at home, and people think those are different companies sometimes. In the end, they are all part of the same group. Then after almost 2 years in that area, I went to the corporate sector. It was very interesting because now I lead an area that's new, that's called capabilities. And basically, I do all the global deployment of the brand building tools of Nestlé. I also decide what we are going to look at in terms of trainings and trends and things that all the marketeers of Nestlé need to learn.
Is it like something specific when you're working in Brazil in terms we have our own preferences, our own trends, or some people say that we copy what happens in US or in Europe and then you do here, or it's completely different, it's dependent?
Well, it's a mix of both. So in many companies, and Nestlé is another example, you have global brands, so they have the same look and feel everywhere. But the formulation could be very different depending on the taste.
Like the beer.
Or Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Even Coca-Cola, that's the same formula. In Mexico, if you taste it, it's a bit sweeter than Brazil, just because they love sweet things even more than us. So there's a lot of local flexibility, and this is why people need to study a lot the consumer. Even here in Brazil, the Northeast is totally different from the South.
That
in terms of consumption.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it influence the campaigns in general too, right?
Yes.
The cultural approach would be different.
Exactly.
The lexical choice of words you use.
Even the kind of packaging. So in the South, we sell much more Nescafé in the jar, in the glass jar. For the Northeast, it's in the sachet, because it's cheaper and it's because they're habit as well.
Okay.
So you need to cater for those local differences.
So you see, if you are a marketeer, you have to do a lot of research. A lot of research.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but you can help me with something that I've heard a lot. Is it objectively different, the Coca-Cola taste from the glass, bottle, from the can, and from the thing?
Yes.
Haha! I'm not crazy. I knew it.
And even sometimes when you go to the retail, they call it the glass one, the perfect Coca-Cola.
Exactly.
So sometimes you see that in the recipe.
Comfort food now, the pastry and the Coke.
Normally the glass is better than the can, and then the plastic one is the one for the the 2 liters, 3 liters. It's not the same experience. Of course, it's also very good, but not the same experience as the original glass.
And this difference, of course, is due to the packaging, or the formula is different according to the packaging?
No, the formula is the same, but the fact that the packaging retain more gas.
Ah, it makes sense now. Okay, you mentioned that you work with a lot of trends. Was it related to your international experience too, Valdir? Like, do you have to talk to people from other countries?
Oh yeah, that was, in the end, it happened to me to work for American companies. So I started at PepsiCo, Alma Chips, and they also have Quaker and some other brands. Then I moved to Mars. So people don't know much Mars by its name, but they know the products. So M&M's, Twix, Snickers, etc.
Ah, okay.
So I spent several years with that company, and then Coke. All of those three are American companies, and now Nestlé is a Swiss company, but European, and you have to talk to international people as well.
Ah, okay.
So English is very important in my life.
Bling! Hence we are here. This is a question that our students, they feel very curious. If you are successful in this area and you interact with from all over, what could you say to an English student, Valdir, that is a bit insecure? Oh, my English is not perfect. I need to talk to people from Europe, from other countries. They have this feeling that they need to have a perfect English to be there.
No, you don't. You never have a perfect English because... And in fact, I listened to one phrase one day that was very interesting for me, showing that if you have an accent, it means that you speak more than one language.
Exactly.
And probably you speak more language than the native American or British, etc. Yeah. So it's good to have an accent, first of all. Second, you need to be confident. So it's really, even if you don't know a lot, you need to be confident to ask people. You need to listen a lot. So for me, what really helps also to stay in touch, because even though I studied for many years, you have to stay in touch with the language. So watch a movie without subtitles. Podcasts. I love podcasts. So it's really important for me to have that kind of contact. But I would say for someone that's starting, it's all about, trying. It's about trial and error, because you are not going to get everything perfect. And that's for sure.
This is a very good mindset to start, because Brazilians, they have this kind of view that people will mock me, or they will think I'm doing something wrong if I commit a mistake. But they are very tolerant with natives when they are trying to communicate in Portuguese.
Exactly.
This is very, very common. I think I talked to Cavey, shout out to you, Cavey, last week about that. He's from Persia. And when you are talking to somebody, for example, you are talking to an American person, you are doing a favor in communicating with his language. You are making it easier, And the person
wouldn't be able to communicate in my language, first of all.
Exactly. So the person should thank you. It's not like, oh my God, what if I do something wrong? No, you are doing something absolutely right. No. Oh, before I forget, Valdir, let me take a look at the chat here. Okay, shout out to you, Karin. She said Coke in the glass is really better. Yes, I agree with you. Okay, Marcel asked you, Valdir, after you quit Coca-Cola, can you now drink Pepsi?
Well, I can. Of course, when I was working for Coca, I wouldn't drink. They take it very serious in that kind of industry. I can drink Pepsi, I could, but the taste of Coca-Cola is better. So that's why I still prefer Coca-Cola.
Then my father, he was a salesman from Ambev, he used to sell Antarctica beer. And I remember when I was a kid that they took it really serious. Like, he used to bring Guaraná and the soft drinks. If I got a Coca-Cola and I enter in the house, I say, you are giving money to our competitors. They really have this brand war thing.
Yeah.
I asked Valdir before we started. Valdir, do you work in the factories there? Do you drink the soft drink? And he said yes. So fine, guys.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine.
Okay. And Valdir, how did you get the invitation to live in Dubai? What's this
well,
story
that's
there?
an interesting story because I was working for Mars. I was working for them for 7 years. And I wanted to live abroad.
Okay.
It's an experience that I didn't have during my college years because for me it was too expensive to get to an exchange program. I started working very early as well, so I couldn't. But I would like to be an expat. I don't know if everyone knows that, but an expatriate is someone that works abroad, and I really wanted that. And I was working for an American company, and that was part of my development plan. And after a while, they said, oh, looks like you're going to the US. I said, oh, great. That was kind of what I was expecting. But after a while, they came back to me and said, they are not taking foreigners this year. But do you have any restrictions about Dubai? That was back in 2012. So I didn't know much, but I said, no, I don't have any kind of restrictions. They said, okay, fine. And I had to go through a process like a normal candidate, even though I was part of the company and lots of people knew me, etc. At that time, there was no Zoom or Teams or Google Meets. So I had to fly.
ICQ.
I had to fly 14 hours there just to do interviews.
40 hours?
Yes. Just to do interviews and case study, and then I got the job.
Yeah, nice. Congrats. And you had to show Dubai in the map for your mother?
Yes. Yes, because, the Middle East, we only hear bad things about the Middle East, and it's very sad what's happening there now, and, the lots of wars, etc. But Dubai is in the UAE. It's a small country in the map and very, very safe. So nothing ever happened there. So I had to open the map for my mom and say, look, the bombs are falling here, in this place, in this place, in this place, in this place, but not here. And I'm going to live here. And it was true.
Yeah, no, today is interesting because you mentioned having to personally go there. Now we have remote work, and you can simply enter in YouTube now and you put like 10 things to do in Dubai, and you show like, it looks nice. But it is a very touristic friendly place, isn't it?
Yes.
What was her reaction when you said, because it's your mom, like, oh, you're going far from me? Or she was like, no, go.
No, yeah, of course, family, that's one of the challenges because I went there single, and of course people become sad. But on the other hand, she went there twice to visit me.
That's sweet.
Taking a 14-hour flight, not easy. But my mom was there, my brother, also one of my nephews was there twice as well.
Man, that's very nice.
So it's good to make it tangible, because when they hear, oh, it's a very nice place, it's one thing. But when they go there and actually see, it's very different.
What were the first things that caught your attention there in terms of, oh my God, nice place?
Well, first of all, the size of the buildings and the amount of constructions.
It's like the movies, like when they show movies, it's always like
it's amazing. If you saw the Fast and the Furious, there's one in Abu Dhabi, and it's really like that. So when I started looking at apartments for renting, and there was one they called the Cloud View, and I didn't believe.
The Cloud View?
Yes, I went to the apartment. I think it was more than 50 floors, 50. And I went to the apartments and I could see clouds because it was so tall.
Man, I can see the image waking up in the morning. That could be a campaign. Then you get your espresso, and then you
in
walk,
the clouds.
You walk towards this big window, and then you're like, and then you have a cheesy life.
I lived in the fourth floor.
Damn,
of one apartment.
So it's fair to say you're not afraid of heights.
No, not that much. I did parachuting once. Yeah, no, it was fine. I
couldn't leave my bedroom. Man.
Yeah.
And what were the cultural shocks you had there? Because you were alone, so a lot of friends that they say, oh, the first thing that was difficult for me was not having people to talk, for example. Is it common to find someone to talk in English with you there?
Oh yeah, in fact, English is the language that they use normally.
Nice.
So Arabic is only for kind of very specific documents, or if you go to a judge, for instance.
Okay.
So, but no, during the everyday language, it's all about English. But you have people from many places. So you have Americans, you have the British people, you have what they call Dubai English.
I didn't know that.
You have lots of Indians, and they have a very strong accent.
Yeah.
So it's just a melting pot. It's a mixture of different cultures. And it was very easy for me to make friends. Indeed, in the beginning, I didn't want to have many Brazilian friends because I wanted to hang out more with the international community.
Yeah.
Then after a while, of course, I started having Brazilian friends and doing feijoadas at home and everything. But in the beginning, I wanted to have international friends.
Yeah, you get out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Immerse you're in their culture. You mentioned feijoada. How was the everyday food there?
Well, the everyday food could be food from Vietnam, or Thai food, or Italian food, or Arabic food.
Strong seasoning.
And even in the Arabic, you have lots of varieties. So the Lebanese food is different from the Syrian one. And I was living in Dubai, but I was working for an area called META, which stands for Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. So I traveled from Saudi Arabia to South Africa. So lots of different cultures in between.
Oh,
and I had to find similarities among them.
No, I imagine and when you were not working, what did you used to do to relax and have fun there? Because the image I said is like the buildings in a lot of shopping centers and beaches.
Yes.
It's like that.
Yeah, lots of artificial things. So in one of the malls, for instance, it's called Mall of the Emirates. They have a ski slope inside the mall, and it's freezing, even though the temperature outside could go to 50 degrees, 50 Celsius. But if you enter the ski slope, it's basically freezing, and they have real penguins. And people say it's a very good place for you to learn on how to ski, especially for kids, etc.
Yeah, it sounds unreal. Oh, you ski really well. Where have you learned? Dubai.
You can do that, yeah.
That's great. So when they say that the city is kind of fake in terms of artificial, was this the impression you have?
Definitely, yeah, because they mix lots of different cultures, and the history of them is very recent. So 40 years ago, they were just a village full of fishermen before they find oil, and then everything changed.
Yeah.
But if you go to old Dubai, they still keep the old houses. You still use the same boats they called abras that they used in the past. And you still have the same kind of street markets. But it's just one specific side of the city that's called Old Dubai that they still keep the traditions.
Were there anything you found similar to Brazil in terms of culture, clothes, I don't know, habits?
In fact, the fact that I was Brazilian helped me because people looked at me and say, oh, you are not American or British, someone that comes to a place that everything is neat and perfect. You come from a place with a lot of inequality.
Yeah.
And this is the reality of most of the places here. So that was an advantage, if I could say so.
Oh, nice. Do they feel curious about Brazil too?
They do a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. My friends, everybody who comes to visit, he say, "Oh, you live in the land of a lot of fertility here. A lot of things. Everything grows. They have this." Something interesting you mentioned about Dubai. How recent it is. It makes me think about Las Vegas, for example. They made a city in the middle of the desert.
It's very similar to Las Vegas. In fact, it was, I think, one of the main inspirations. And there are more than 400 hotels in Dubai.
400?
Yeah. Damn. And the interesting thing is that you cannot drink alcohol in theory, you cannot drink. So you need to have a license to drink alcohol.
Really?
Yeah, and you need to ask your company, so the HR of your company, to sign a document saying that you're allowed to drink. Either you do that and then you go to some liquor stores and you buy whatever you want, or you go to one of the 400 hotels, one in each corner.
Okay.
I told people that I used to drink more in Dubai versus São Paulo, just because, there are so many hotels, and during my free time, there was a lot of, let's go to a hotel, to a brunch. And what they call brunch, in fact, it's a brunch, but with free alcohol.
So it's an excuse to drink.
Yes, that was the concept of the brunch. Starts at 10, goes until 4, and you can drink as much alcohol as you can. And you can eat as much as you can as well.
Oh, it sounds nice. It's like an equivalent to our happy hour,
Yeah.
And so there are no bars there?
All the bars need to be inside a hotel. So there are not bars in the streets.
And that's interesting. And of course, the alcohol is related to their Muslim view, right?
Yes.
It's prohibited.
So there are lots of bars that sell nargile. That's our equivalent, let's say, of coffee shops or bars. So during many times, I went to those nargile bars with friends, just to relax, enjoy, have tea or coffee.
You have like the cushions, you sit there.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Interesting. And how was the transition back to Campinas, Valdir, after you
so I was there for 3 years. That was my contract. And I wanted to come back to Brazil. I could have stayed a bit longer, but overall I wanted to come back. And then I came back to the same company, Mars, and they have another division in pet food. The pet food office is located here in Campinas. Also with very famous brands like Pedigree and Whiskas. So Pedigree is the biggest business in Brazil, and I was invited to run Pedigree here in Campinas.
Was it difficult to adapt? Because I told you, when I was at the university, I had a semester where I had to sell the vermin medicine for dogs. And man, it was difficult to come out with something creative because, of course, the dogs are not watching TV, accessing TikToks, or talking to the owners.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when you sell toys, you different from when you sell toys that you directly sell to the kids, but the one who will pay is the father. In this case, you have kind of a natural limit there. How was your adaptation?
Yeah, so at the same time for me that I couldn't talk to consumers.
Yes.
So it's a bit harder because you need to understand the shop. You need to do what's right for the dog. So to make sure that the food is very good for the dog, but you need to convince the owner that's the right food for the dog as well.
Okay, it's a combo.
So you have to do a double work. And also you need to convince the veterinarian that's a good food as well.
It's the authority,
exactly.
The future authority.
Yes. And also, you need to go to the pet shops and make sure that the ones that are on the balcony selling pet food know about your benefits as well. Otherwise, they are going to sell your competitor.
This is something we had to do, like create a way to educate them. Our product has this and that. That's very interesting. Are there any specific campaign, for example, I remember a movie now that was about Pfizer where they did these conventions and invited a lot of doctors and presented something. Is there anything relatedly
many of the pet food companies, in fact, they have people that go to the veterinarians with leaflets to really explain the benefits of the products, how they are made, etc. We also do preference tests with dogs. That's very interesting because basically you select your main competitor and you put a bowl of your product and your competitor's product. And, we had some dogs that tested both. And we would measure how much they would eat of our product versus the competition to see which was the best one. So that was the kind of preference test that we did.
That's very interesting. And you need to adapt the whole composition of the product if you're losing in terms
of... Our objective was always to win versus the main competitor. So, of course, if it didn't happen, we needed to do something. And there are specialists in formulation. They could say, oh, add more of this or less of that, etc.
I have a shitty question for you.
Oh my God.
Okay, yeah, literally a shitty question. What's about the dog poop that you have to understand a lot about?
Well, that's a very good question. In fact, I had to learn a lot about dog poop because that's one of the main things that owners expect. A poop that's easy to... They look at the poop also as a sign of health. And also, it needs to be easy to collect. So it cannot be too liquid, cannot be too solid. It has to be easy for them to collect and put in a bag and throw it away. And there are some people that even have a scale of how the poop needs to look like. And the formulation is done not only to the taste of the animal, so it has to be palatable to the animal, but also
the taste of the poop. I was like, what?
No. I mean, it has to be very tasteful for the animal.
Yes.
And the poop has to be in the right place, not too soft, not too hard.
It makes a lot of sense because you will have the vet recommending them because the animal will be healthy, and the owner will be happy because of the practicity.
Yes.
You know, very interesting. Let me take a look at the chat.
And if in Brazil, we learned that people don't like to see dog poop in TV commercials, but there are places like Mexico in which you have to show the poop.
Really?
So we did a commercial that was for the entire Latin America. We did a version in Brazil without the poop and for the Mexico with the poop because they like to see how easy it is to collect the poop in the TV ad.
But
Brazilians don't like it that much.
But was it a real poop or something they fabricated just for the commercial? Because
they fabricated, but it looks like a real poop.
And interesting. Basically everything is very well thought through. You don't have any accidents there.
Yes.
And very interesting. Good evening, Lucas. I would like to know what the difficulties, how were the difficulties, comparing in terms of one company to another. He's asking here, the most similar from one company to another, the ones that you have been, Valdir.
Well, I think every company is one company, and it also depends on the stage of your life. So I started working for Elma Chips, which is Saudi snacks. You know, I was very young. So for me, it was the right time of my life. Then I went to chocolate. That's a different business. But I would say that American companies have lots of similarities in the way they behave. They're very ethical, very focused on the results. But there are companies that are more focused also on the people side. There are companies focusing more on the financial results. So you really need to understand your context to find, people that are allies to you when you are in a new company and things like that.
What was more challenging for you, working with kids because of the Elma Chips experience or the working with pets?
Oh, I think kids was a lot easier. First, because at that time, we still didn't have so many restrictions about advertising to kids. So nowadays, you cannot advertise to kids that are under 13 years old. And there's a lot of science behind 13? That. Yeah.
It's because it was like a CONAR restriction.
Yeah, and also their brains are not fully prepared to understand that's a commercial, that's not a real content. So this is why now every brand that wants to advertise to kids has to talk to the mothers. In the past, it was not like that. You could present something directly to the kids.
Remember those chocolate cigarettes?
Yes.
Man, that was the 90s were crazy.
Yes. And there's another ad, buy baton. That wouldn't be allowed.
Oh my God, it's like a hypnotizer.
Buy baton. Yeah, like a hypnotize, exactly.
Yeah. I was very susceptible to those ads, but when it was about action figures, I used to watch those cartoons, anime, Zodiac Knights. Every commercial was a Bandai, with showing. And then I was like, oh, I want that, and they were expensive,
And you have to collect them all. Yes.
If you remember, guys, in the chat, any funny commercial from the 90s, just share, But that's a good example. The buy button. Oh, the Calloy one.
Yeah, the bicycle. Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if
there's one that say, by the way, I have it, you don't have it, I have it. Nowadays, that wouldn't be acceptable.
No, it would be like considered psychological abuse, or bullying.
Yeah.
I remember a very specific point. I think I was a teenager, but I don't know if this was kind of the shift in the industry. Was with this, you guys will remember.
Yeah.
You remember that? And there was the wee. Both were beer commercials. One you had like a crab that would do like a lele-esque, and the other was like a turtle.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because this, I don't know if it was when people say, "Oh, you are using kind of characters that are appealing to kids to sell an beer. Alcoholic beverage." Yes.
No, that's even worse than sell toys, let's say, or food, because this is something that kids shouldn't be even close. So that I think was one of the turning points.
And the cigarettes too. I remember, again, the 90s. You were watching cartoons and there was like a Marlboro commercial.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why nowadays you don't have a lot of programs for kids in open TV.
Makes sense.
Because you don't have many people to advertise anymore. Even in cable, you don't have... Well, in cable you have more advertising. Yeah. But, it's a lot less than the 90s, the beginning of 2000s, yes.
This is another very interesting aspect, Valdir, of the profession. How a new law can affect the whole range of business too.
Yes.
One simple law and you have to adapt to the market quickly.
Yes. Yeah. Cigarette is one example. They had lots of money, they had TV commercials, they did shows like sponsorships,
Hollywood Fest.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and all of a sudden they had a huge pile of money that they had to spend in the point of sale. So this is why you go to every single bakery now and they have those huge places with cigarettes, because that's kind of the only place in which they can put their money. So they invest a lot in the trade.
You remind me of a movie, Thank You for Smoking.
Yes, I saw that.
I remember that movie. And it is very interesting. A lot of things connecting there. Oh, there are more people asking things here. Okay, one moment. This is a question from Leticia. And what is Nestlé's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion? You work it a lot with that too, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So let me step back for a while. So my racial awakening was at Coca-Cola. Of course, I was always aware in Rio. Yeah, I was always aware. So I was raised with my grandmother. Also, we shared the same bedroom, and she used to tell me that her grandmother was a slave. So if you think about that in historical terms, that's not a lot of time.
No, it's close, very close.
Yeah, and my older brother, he studied here in Unicamp, and he was part of the Black movement. And of course, I knew about it. When I started working, I faced some situations in which nowadays I would say it was racism, but back then we didn't discuss it that much. But
it was part of some people's routine, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then over time, I started to realize that I had a role, that people looked at me and say, oh, he's a manager, he's in marketing. So I know that other Black people looked at me differently.
Like an inspiration.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of something that I learned over time. But then at Coke, it was really about finding an affinity group. It was the first time that I was part of an affinity group. They invited me, and even though there were many people from Rio or from Salvador, the stories were very similar. We were very few. There's not a lot of black people in the corporate world, let's say. In Brazil, we have 56% of black people, according to the census, and you have less than 5% of black executives. And if you look for black CEOs, I can count on one hand. So after 2020, especially, all the companies started to have more policies about diversity and inclusion. And going back to Nestlé, so they have 5 different groups. So there is one for women, and they use the Moça, Leite Moça brand also for that group. There is one for people with disabilities. There's one that's LGBT plus, that's the Pride group. There's one called Generations, so that's for young people and for people that are over 50.
Nice.
And there is one that, by the way, that I lead, that's called Nestlé. That's the Black Affinity Group for Nestlé. And we do all the activities regarding not only making the issues more aware, so creating awareness for the company around the racial issues in Brazil, but also making sure that we hire more people. So now we have positions that are only for black people, or that we prefer those positions to be filled with black people. And we also have specific programs of retention of those people, and also ways for them to ascend the corporate ladder. So trainings, etc., to make sure they get promoted in the company.
Nice. Do you think Brazil, are we like in the same position of international companies in terms of equality, equity, or we are behind them?
In fact, Brazil is catching up. I think the big international companies, they have that responsibility. And then I go back to Coca-Cola, because in the end, the headquarters of Coca-Cola is in Atlanta. Atlanta is the land of Martin Luther King. So they had to take a stand. They had to take that into consideration. So many years ago, they started talking about it. And they selected the places in which diversity inclusion is more important. So in Europe, they say they don't have the kind of problems they have here. So in Europe, it's a lot harder to implement a diversity and inclusion. But in places like Brazil, South Africa, and the US, I think most of the companies know that they need to do something. In the end, they know that they need to be the mirror of the society they are in. And nowadays, they are not. If you go to those companies nowadays, you see much more white people. You don't see the diversity that you see in Brazil. And this is why Nestlé, for instance, has this group, and some of the other companies are part of a larger movement to change that reality.
Nice. And when you think about this as a trend, do you think other companies, they are catching up as well? Like they see that they are actually getting behind, because it's not, you have the whole aspect of contributing objectively to society, make a more accessible place to more people. But you will also be talking, thinking only about an executive now with that, like you said, the result mind. They will imagine, oh, I'm losing a big share of the market too, for some stupid reasons, maybe, like old
exactly.
mindset,
I think, the new generations, they want to know where the product comes from. So sustainability is much more important than what it was. And diversity is the same. So people want to see themselves in the ad. So that kind of commercial that you saw for margarine, for instance, years ago, you don't see that kind of family anymore.
Yeah.
You want to see a mixed family. You want to see more black people. You want to see reality. And this is what brands are perceiving, are researching, are looking at. We see more and more that we need to be more realistic. So we need to have gay couples in the TV. We need to have lesbian couples. And this is happening more and more. Of course, sometimes there's a backlash, but you see that most companies keep on doing it because that's the right thing to do.
Something that I was thinking here, do you think in this process, the social media and the internet, it helps or it gets in the way? Because more people, like you said, I want to see myself in the product. And nowadays with social media, it's very easy to spread. So you can prize a company that is doing the right thing and you can boycott or maybe cancel the company.
Yeah, it's good and bad. I think in social media, for instance, you have a lot of talents that otherwise wouldn't be there because they are not in the kind of standards that we are used to. So they have the opportunity to be who they are. So they don't need to be lean. You know, you could be a black, gay, fat guy and be an influencer with millions. And it's all okay. So I think people are seeing more of themselves in the internet. At the same time, you also see lots of bad comments and bullying.
Yeah.
And you know, nothing is perfect. So everyone has a hater.
Yes.
On the other hand, I mean,
we don't.
Things happen so quickly that, you know, you need also sometimes just to wait a bit that people are going to move to the next subject. I remember I was in Coke when Carol Conká was in Big Brother, and people hated her at that time. I mean, she left with 99% rejection.
99%?
Yeah, it was, I think, the greatest rejection in one reality show.
Damn.
And I remember that Coke was sponsoring one of the sketches they did, and she won that. And I remember the next day, it was a bit of a crisis because many people on the internet said, I'm not drinking Coke anymore. I'm drinking Pepsi because Coke sponsoring something that Carol Conká won. But, you know, Coke has nothing to do with who is going to win that activity. They are just sponsoring. But people don't care about that. Yeah. So they started that movement. Some people inside the company freaked out. But, you know, nothing happens. And people still drink Coke.
The public relations of the company gets crazy. Oh, my God, how do they reverse it?
Yeah.
And so people, they just connect the dots in a harsh way. You know?
And by the way, even if you think about Carol Conká, of course, she had a meltdown in the program. And after that, she realized she had some problems she needed to treat. But maybe people were harsh at her also because she was a black woman that was very very strong in the way she positioned herself. So, yeah, there are lots of challenges, I think.
Reality shows, they are an interesting experiment, but at the same time, people have to realize you have a lot of people that are there thinking, oh my God, I need to win this. People are watching me all the time, confined in a place. Of course, they're not going to be 100% their real selves there. No, they are almost a character in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think after so many years of reality shows, some people are characters indeed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they imagine like the next clip, I'm gonna do something, so it's gonna go viral. You know. Yeah, and you were part of a project that was like 100% recycle. You mentioned about sustainability.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was at Coke as well. So I was working with the water brand called Cristal. And then I thought, oh my God, what can I do with water?
I had the same problem at the university, man.
Yeah.
How do I sell water?
Exactly. And then we did the research and everything was okay. I mean, the brand was good. Everyone knew about it. The price was good. It was well distributed. So the Kotler 4Ps were all covered.
Yeah.
But for the future, something was not right. In the end, plastic, there was a lot of pollution. And of course, the problem with the category is the plastic it generates. So we saw an opportunity to be the first brand that was 100% recycled, not only recyclable, but recycled. Mm-hmm. So we need to gather a new supply chain with recycled plastic to make sure that we were able to launch, and we did that, and I'm very proud. I learned a lot on the process.
Was it difficult to convince the financial aspect? Because in a way, you have to show the people that the image of the company will improve and you will have a return. Because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I imagine that recycled raw material is more expensive, or...
Yeah, so what happened was a combination of things. Really, globally, the company wanted to reduce plastic. Also in Brazil, it was part of its goals. Also, we started to have more scale in recycled plastic. Mm-hmm. So in the end, the cost difference was not so great. But for the consumers, it was really helpful to see that that bottle was made of other bottles. This is how we communicated. Because recycled, sometimes it's difficult for people. Yeah. Then we did the research and we said, okay, that's a bottle made from other bottles. People understood.
No, very interesting. And it always starts with making the person aware of whatever you are doing. So they will not be like that, oh, let me see how much, And
you have to make it tangible as well. Mm-hmm. So we said, for instance, we didn't say we are removing 100 tons of plastic per day, for instance. We said we are removing every day 25 times the size of Christ the Redeemer. So that people understand, 25 times the Christ is a lot of plastic. 100 tons? People don't know.
Oh, that's very intelligent. I saw a campaign that it was actually a research, maybe that was about donating money to ONGs. And one thing they figured out is, if you want to convince someone like, oh, we are doing this campaign that will help these people that are suffering a lot. If you help, we're going to access 1 billion people. They will hear a number. How do you convince them? You tell the story of the little girl called Jane. And then you will motivate people because they see a human being, not a number.
Exactly. It's all about storytelling. Yeah. It was interesting when I was in dog. It was not only about poop, but also we had social causes. So Pedigree has a program in English called Pedigree Adoption Drive. In Brazil, it's called Adotar é Tudo de Bom. And basically, there are 20 million stray dogs in Brazil.
So how many?
20 million stray dogs.
20 million, damn.
So, dogs without a proper house. And it's said that many of those dogs were abandoned in January because some people give dogs as a gift. And then they don't like it and they abandon.
It's a terrible gift to give, not because of the dog, but you are giving responsibility
exactly.
to a person.
Dogs should never be given as a gift.
Yeah.
And some people also travel for vacations and they just leave the dogs behind. And it's very sad.
Do you have pets, Valdir?
I don't, because I live alone, but I had I had pets when I was a kid, of course, growing up and everything. But
no, I'm asking because I imagine your perspective changed a lot after knowing the side of the industry too.
Yes, exactly.
It's impossible to be the same. How do you think companies can improve, these diversity actions and sustainability actions? What would be a good way to make more companies coming on board with that?
Well, I think more and more the companies know. First, I think we have just one planet, and we know that if we don't use the resources that we have in a better way, we are going to face serious issues. We are already looking at climate change. So now I'm doing post-graduation in ESG. Basically, that stands for environment, social, and governance. And basically, you learn a lot that, okay, if you don't do anything, maybe the next generation will have a planet that's worse than what we have now. And many of those companies, they know that. So for Nestle, they know that if they do not protect the milk, the cocoa, and the coffee, they are not going to have a business in the future.
Yeah, it will disappear. I remember a stand-up comedian, George Carlin. They used to say, guys, the planet is not going anywhere. Don't worry. We are.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we are gonna vanish.
Remember the dinosaurs and the ice age, etc. The planet's going to be here, but maybe without us.
Exactly.
So we need to do something.
He said exactly this. Like, the planet's gonna shake us like a bad case of fleas. Like, and then humans are gone. Let me take a look at the chat here. Hello, Arthur. Hi, Wendell. Wendell, that's an interesting question. Going back to Dubai, do people have exotic animals as pets in Dubai? I saw people with tigers.
They do.
Have you seen any?
I saw, and I have a story that's so funny. So basically, we were doing some consumer research at consumer houses. So I was talking to the guy. At the end, he said, "Oh, I wanted you to see the pictures of my baby," and I thought it was an actual baby. And I said, "Okay, so bring the pictures to me." It was a baby lion. And then I realized it was kind of normal, especially for the local Arabic, to have lions as pets. And when they grow a lot, they would be sent to a special place only for lions. But I mean, for me, it was terrible to see
like a lion farm.
Yeah, like a lion farm. But you know, when they are small and cute, they are kept as animals.
Man, this is something very bad that happens with monkeys. All those cute monkey videos you see, they are adolescent or kids monkeys. Never have a monkey. It's a terrible idea. The moment it goes past puberty, it's gonna be extremely active and violent.
Exactly.
And some people want to have a monkey in an apartment. You know, it's gonna. And they would just like give it away, you know.
Yeah, never have a lion. So.
Yeah. Oh man, but have you seen it like closely?
I didn't want to see very closely. The pictures were enough for me, but I heard from a few people that they had that. It was part of their culture. There's nothing that I could do about it. So.
Had I been there, this would be probably how I die. I can hold my horses. I would be like, Simba.
But they are cute. I mean, when they are small, they are cute. And of course, if you think about dogs, they come from lions.
Yes,
so,
man. Yeah. Unfortunately, Valdir, as I told you, time flies. We are running out of time.
Oh.
It was very nice talking to you, man. Would you like to say a final message to our listeners?
Well, I also saw camels. I had camel drink. We are talking about animals.
Camel drink?
Yeah, camel milk.
Camel milk?
Camel milk. Yeah, camel milk and camel meat. So it's something that they do in Dubai.
Is it very different from the cow one, the milk?
Yeah, it's a lot stronger.
But in a good way?
It's weird, man. It's weird.
Man.
Oh, but the last message for me, it's great. For me, it's a while that I haven't spoken English that much in many months, and it was so natural. So thanks for that, and thanks for inviting me.
That was a pleasure.
And for you guys, keep on doing what you're doing, and don't be afraid. Just be confident.
Nice. You made me have a trip in my head back to childhood with all those brands and things. People, thank you so much for being here with us. Thanks for all the messages you sent in the chat, okay? Don't forget, like, share the video. I hope to see you next week on our next episode of Talking Times. Bye-bye.